In Google Analytics, it's quite easy to find out where your users came from. Just go over to the acquisition reports and voila, you get a breakdown of all the different sources that brought users to your website. You can also easily see which sources brought you the most sales by looking at this column. But now I hear you saying, hold on, how does Google Analytics actually know or decide which source gets the credit for the sale? Well, now it gets a bit more complicated. So we ask our Google Analytics expert Pavel to break things down for us and show us how we can use Google Analytics to understand our attribution on our website a little bit better. We got lots to cover, so Pavel, take it away.
Thanks, Julian. Hello everyone, this is Pavel, and let's get started with attribution. Let's define attribution generally. It's a set of rules by which we give credit or value to something. It's mostly discussed when it comes to traffic sources in Google Analytics, so let's have a look on a brief example to understand the concept. As we probably know, it takes a bit more time when a user becomes a customer, so let's illustrate one way how it can go. The first session was initiated to your website via clicking the display ad. Then user came for the second time, searching you via paid search. Then the third session happened through clicking the newsletter, and then finally the last one, during which also conversion happened, was through organic search. And the way it works in Google Analytics is that when we are starting to counting the conversions, only the last one will get a credit for it. So in this example, it will be only organic channel. All the previous channels, display, paid search, and newsletter, are completely ignored. As you may notice, it's probably not the best way how to assign a credit for conversion, but this is the way it works in Google Analytics when you use standard attribution model, which is called last non-direct click. That basically means that even if there was a direct channel after the organic one, the conversion would be still attributed to organic channel. Now let's have a look to GA interface to see which report it affects and whether you should spend some time to attribution and see if it's a problem for you or not. Here we are in the report acquisition, all traffic, and source medium. The report we are all very familiar with. I will minimize the left bar, and now let's have a look on the numbers we see here. Let's focus on the very right side, which is about conversions, and I have selected here only e-commerce, which means transactions. All the transactions volume for every channel we see here, which is for example 3,500 for Google Organic, are attributed or credit given by last non-direct click attribution model, which means that Google Organic has 3,500 conversions, which means that it was for 3,500 times the last traffic source in customer journey path. This is what this report is telling us. Nothing more. As we showed on the previous slide, it's probably not very fair model, but this is important to remember that this is the way it works in Google Analytics. And now let's have a look to another report which is showing us how huge the overlap between traffic channels is. The report which is showing us how huge overlap between traffic channels is under conversion, multi-channel funnels, and overview. The first thing we have to do is to select only the one conversions we want to look at, because by default all of them are pre-selected. So I'm leaving only transaction and clicking apply, waiting for a second, minimizing left bar, and here we are. By scrolling down, we can see these bubbles. They show us how huge the overlap between particular channels is. So by going here and seeing 25%, it means that for 25% of transactions, both direct and referral as traffic sources were present. The same applies here, but it's a combination of direct and organic traffic channel. It's also possible to add there up to 4 channels to see how huge the total overlap is. So the next step, what to do is to sum up all of the overlaps. So it's 25% plus 10 minus this one, because it would be double count. So 25 plus 8 something plus this small part would be approximately 1 to 2%, also the same here. So if we sum up all of the overlaps, we would get probably somewhere to 35%, which in other words means that 35% of conversions are distorted by last non-direct click attribution model, which only gives the credit for the last traffic source. And is not fair, as we said. And what to take from this report is, from my personal perspective or observation, is that if there's more than 20% of conversions which are overlapped by different channels, I'm looking on alternative options of attribution models available in Google Analytics. If it's less than 20%, I don't take it as an issue because the time that I would spend there would probably never get paid. So now let's have a look on alternative attribution models available in Google Analytics. We are in Conversions, Multi-Channel Funnels, and Model Comparison tool. This report will show us alternative options when it comes to attribution in Google Analytics. The first thing we have to do again is to pre-select only the one conversion we want to look at, which in this case is transaction. And now let's have a look on alternative attribution models and specifically on the calculation and how they attribute conversions and conversion value. There are 7 of them. Here they are. The first 4 of them give the credit only to the last channel. The last 3 are a bit more fair because they attribute the total conversion among all of the channels. Now let's explain it. The last interaction gives the credit only to the last channel. No matter if it was direct or any other of them, only the last one gets the credit for the conversion. Then there is the last non-direct click, which is the default one in Google Analytics, and we explained it in the beginning of this video. Then there is the last Google Ads click, which gives the credit for the conversion to the last Google Ads click, which is quite self-explanatory. Then there is a first interaction model, which is exactly the opposite from the last interaction, and it only gives the credit to the first channel in conversion path. So these were the simple models. And then the last 3 as said, are a bit more fair. The first one is linear. As it's probably quite easy to understand, it evenly distributes the conversion and conversion value among all of the channels which were in the conversion path. So if it was two channels, it gives the 50% to every one of them. If it was 4 of them, 25% goes to each channel, and so on and so on. Then there is a time decay model, which is quite similar as linear, but it gives more value and more credit to the channels which were a bit close to the end of conversion paths. And then there is the last one, which is called position based, and it's pretty much the mix of the previous ones. It gives 40% of the credit to the first channel, another 40% of the credit to the last channel, and then the rest 20% are evenly distributed among the channels in between the first and the last channel. So this was the simple explanation of the calculation between alternative attribution models. And now let's describe the situation and scenarios for which the particular model fits the best. Important information before we start comparing various attribution models in Google Analytics is that there is no such a thing as universal attribution model which can be used for any website. Even though it's a bit more advanced analytics topic, we shouldn't be afraid of doing it and spending some time for it, because the impact it can make, for example, when switching your marketing budget among traffic channels you have, can be really, really huge. So the first thing I'm going to do is to switch my primary dimension from multi-channel funnel grouping to source medium, because it gives me a bit more granular view. And here it is. I will select right now the last interaction model to last non-direct click attribution model, which is the default one in GA. And let's compare it, for example, with the first interaction. What the report is showing us. We can select here if we want to compare conversions and CPA, conversion value and ROAS, and conversions and value, which is the one I chose. And then which change do we want to see? Either percentage change in conversions or a change in conversions value. I'm selecting this one to show how it works. So what we have here, it tells us that the direct none as the first traffic channel has in the last non-direct click attribution model about 7,000 conversions. In the first interaction model, it has almost 9,000 conversions, which is about 26% change, quite a lot, right? And the same applies for the other line. So the second one, mallgoogleplex.com, has 5,000 for the last non-direct click. For the first interaction, about 4,000, so about 20% less, and so on and so on. So this is the way we can compare the various attribution models. And now I will show you the two examples which can help you when doing a business decision. As you probably have part of the campaigns which you expect to be the acquisition ones, which means bringing you the new customers to our website, this is the way where probably the last non-direct click model does not evaluate them properly, right? Because their goal is different. Their goal is to bring the customers to your website. So this is exactly the way where I would only use the first interaction model. And exactly the same applies for the channels or the campaigns where we expect that would close the conversion path. So for example, retargeting or search ads and so on and so on. And now how to look on it. I will cancel this comparison and we'll select only the first interaction model. And let's filter, for example, Google CPC only. So let's do that. Waiting for it, and here we have only Google CPC. I will use secondary dimension campaign to look only on Google CPC campaigns, looking on the first interaction model. And I'm comparing here, for example, first interaction model and the last interaction model. And as we can see, there is, there are plenty of differences between the conversion distribution. Minus 40%, 14%, minus 50%, minus 14, minus 18, minus 28, minus 45. So quite a lot of differences. So as we can see, these are probably completely different campaigns. Some of them are supposed to be in the very beginning of the conversion path, some of them on the very end. This is why it differs so much. So if I have a set of, for example, acquisition campaigns, which as said are supposed to bring new customers to our website, what I would do is to start tagging these campaigns that they are acquisition, and the ones that are supposed to be at the end, I would probably start tagging somehow differently to be able to see and compare all of the campaigns which are supposed to be at the end of conversion path. And then I would choose one of the attribution model that fits best, for example, the first interaction for the acquisition campaigns and the last interaction for the campaigns that are supposed to end the conversion path, and then compare them. Don't mix the both acquisition and the ending or so-called ending campaigns of the attribution path. And then compare only the first interaction among each other and the last interaction among each other, not all of them. So this is the way we should work with the position-based attribution models, right? The first four of them. Then the last scenario I want to show you here is to using a bit different models, which are, cleaning the view, not position-based, but the one of the last ones which are distributing the value more evenly among all of the channels. Here they are. If you want to have a bit more advanced view, which they provide, I would recommend you to start looking in the beginning for example, linear model and comparing it to the last non-direct click. And as we can see, it gives much more value to all of the channels except direct one, which is very specific when it comes to thinking of attribution, but it's there. And then, for example, if I will compare linear with time decay, I would not expect there so much difference. And it confirms none of the except groups.google.com has higher difference than 10%, which means that if we will use linear or time decay model, the results are pretty much the same. And I would say that if I will also compare a position based, which distributes the value for the conversions between all of the channels, We can also see that comparing linear model to time decay and position based, the differences between the volume of conversions isn't that much, right? +4, -2, +3, -6, and so on and so forth. So what to take from it? If you want to have an attribution model that will not give the credit only to the one of the channels, feel free to compare these three of them, and if you will find out that basically they give you the same results, start using them. It won't happen overnight. Once you start using any of these advanced attribution models, any change in your business will take time, because you will have to understand every model and then play with it for a bit and then make a decision. So this is what is available here and what we can do. So hope you guys enjoyed the lessons and see you next time.
Alright, thanks Pavel for this great explanation. If you found this video useful, then please hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to find out more about how Google Analytics actually knows where your users came from in the first place, then you need to learn about UTM parameters. I have a video right over there, which is a great companion to this video. Now, my name is Julian. Happy measuring.